on, Locks Mob, and welcome back to the Week 15 edition of Addy's Action. Before I get into anything, let me tell you guys where I've been the past 2 weeks, because I have been getting a crazy amount of DMs, a crazy amount of tweets about why I haven't posted an Addy's Action video the past 2 weeks. And honestly, I just have a couple excuses. Nothing beyond that. I was just really busy. Typically, I like to post these Addy's Action videos on like Saturday, around now, like Saturday midday, but I can do it Friday as well. But these past 2 weekends have just been crazy hectic for me and for Locks. So took them off from NFL videos, but they're back starting this week. And yeah, let's get into it. Let me show you guys my Twitter real quick. If you want to keep the conversation going with me on Twitter, you can follow me at ReallyAddy. This is where I talk hockey, football, basketball, soccer, any sport really. I just tweet my personal thoughts and all of that. So go ahead and interact with me here. If you have any questions, anything you want to run by me for this Sunday slate or any other sport, you can go ahead and just tweet it at me right here. Again, we are doing our standard giveaway that we run every week. Go ahead and like this video, comment your favorite GPP play of the week on this video, and go ahead and subscribe to the Locks DFS YouTube channel, and you will just do those 3 things, and then you will be entered in to win a free NFL, NBA, or NHL season pass. Taylor announced the winner on his NBA video for Monday, so be sure to check that out. If you want to see if you've won. But again, just like, comment, and subscribe, and you will be entered into that giveaway. But yeah, so now that we talked about the past, and now that I've touted myself on Twitter, let's just get into this awesome NFL slate. I mean, we got an 11-game slate, 2 games on Saturday that start in a couple hours, which we're not going to talk about in this video, but you guys can go ahead. You guys can definitely tweet at me for that slate, though. But yeah, so we got 11 games, a pretty interesting slate. No Rams, so no Todd Gurley in the running back spot, no Jared Goff, no Robert Woods, no Eagles, because that is the Sunday night game. So a few less options, but we will get into it right now. So starting at the quarterback position, the way I typically start these videos is by dissecting who I think will be chalk, just based off of some ownership projections that I like to look at, and then going from there. So right now, the top 4 quarterbacks as far as ownership projections that I see are Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, and Ben Roethlisberger. I love all 4 of those plays, and I'm not surprised to see Lamar Jackson lead the way at 5,900. And truthfully, the quarterback right after him is the quarterback that I'm going to talk about, and that is Tom Brady. So he's not this crazy low-owned quarterback that you're going to get, but I do think his ownership is going to be lower than it should be based on the presented value that he's giving you. He is the exact same price as Lamar Jackson, and I think most people are going to go towards Lamar Jackson simply because rushing quarterbacks are broken for fantasy football. I mean, just the floor that they give you is sort of unparalleled, because you know they're going to get you somewhere around at least 10 points when you combine their rushing floor and with their passing floor. And that for 5,900, just automatically getting a 10 to 12 point floor is fairly safe. But Lamar Jackson just hasn't shown the upside the past 3-4 weeks that he's been starting that I want. This is a great matchup for him, but I do think his upside is sort of capped around 25-ish. And that's if he picks up like the 100-yard rushing bonus. Whereas a guy like Tom Brady, I think could actually just like smash that 25-point threshold in this specific matchup. A few reasons I'm on him. I think that this game turns into a shootout. I mean, it's already projected to be a shootout, with the total being set at 52 and then rising up to 53.5. But it's very skewed towards it's leaning towards shooting out as opposed to going under the total, simply because of the fact that both these teams would benefit from relying on their pass game. Obviously, we know the deal with Tom Brady. You're better putting the ball in Tom Brady's hands than Sonny Michel's. But just matchup-wise, Pittsburgh is a funnel defense. They've got a really, really good run defense, yet not that great of a pass defense, 21st in the league. They struggle versus a lot of the positions that Tom Brady has weapons at, like Gronkowski and the slot cornerback which is where Julian Edelman runs his routes. I think those guys have great matchups. I think Tom Brady should benefit from this being a fairly pace-up game. As you guys can see here, New England ranks first and second neutrals pace of play. Pittsburgh ranks ninth and second neutral pace of play. Should be a pretty up-tempo game, a lot of pass attempts. I think we could see Tom Brady throw 5 to 10 pass attempts more than he averages per game. And honestly, if we see Pittsburgh go back to their linebacker versus slot wide receiver defense, then Tom Brady is going to smash with Julian Edelman, because that's what Pittsburgh did versus Keenan Allen. We saw Keenan Allen rip him apart, 14 catches, 140 yards, and a touchdown. Julian Edelman could do the same if they match up Bud Dupree on him like they were with Keenan Allen. So I think Tom Brady's in a total smash spot at Pittsburgh. There's a few reasons to be concerned. Tom Brady's been really bad on the road this year. I mean, that's a given, and he's also been pretty bad versus the blitz. And Pittsburgh blitzes, like, I think at the fourth or fifth highest rate in the league. All reasons for concern, but I'm not overly concerned. I think a primetime game, or excuse me, not a primetime game, a 4:25 game, sort of that late hammer. I think Tom Brady on the road is fine. I think the blitzes, the heavy blitz scheme that Pittsburgh runs will have Tom Brady going with like these quick out passes, which is where we see Tom Brady put up monster scores when he can get the ball in the hands of like James White, Josh Gordon, Julian Edelman, Rob Gronkowski, and then sort of just let those guys do the work. And I think we get a game like that. So that's enough on QB. Let's go ahead and move on to running back. Kind of similar with running back in the sense that the play that I'm really high on, he's actually, as well as Tom Brady, he's the fifth. He's projected as the fifth highest owned. So again, not a crazy GPP play, but I do think he could come in a little bit lower owned because of how chalky some of the plays around him are. And speaking of those plays, Joe Mixon at 6,100 is projecting as crazy chalk, and rightfully so. I mean, it's just like he's coming off 31 touches last game, and now he's at home in an awesome matchup, the best matchup you could ask for versus Oakland. So Joe Mixon's a super smash play. Ezekiel Elliott is up here as chalk as well, then Saquon, and then Jalen Samuels. I could see all those guys taking up a little bit as well, especially Jalen Samuels once James Conner officially gets ruled out. I think we'll probably see Jalen Samuels shoot up as even chalkier, and I love that play as well. I'm all for getting as much exposure to this Pittsburgh game, if you can't tell. But yeah, so the guy that I really want to talk about is going to be Dalvin Cook at 6.5K. Awesome matchup for him coming home versus Miami. Miami over the past 6 weeks has allowed over 5.3 yards per carry. They've just been getting shelled on the ground. But the big news with Dalvin Cook is the firing of John DeFilippo. The big sort of like back and forth between John DeFilippo and Mike Zimmer was because of John DeFilippo's lack of willingness to run the ball. Obviously, you guys know Minnesota, one of the pass heavier teams in the NFL. And I think we're going to see a game where they kind of get back to the run. Mike Zimmer likes to run the ball. I think they're going to try and establish Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook's coming off a season high in playing time. He played 86% of the snaps last week. He's coming off back-to-back games, receiving 10 and 7 targets apiece. So the receiving upside is there versus a Miami team that ranks 24th in the league versus pass-catching running backs. And I do think we could see him sort of hit the upper echelon of carries in sort of like the, for him, which would be like the 16 to 18 range. And if he does that with his 5 or 6 targets that are coming his way, he's going to absolutely eat in this matchup. So yeah, Dalvin Cook, love him as the Addy's Action quarterback or Addy's Action running back of the week. One note on running back, just because I want to talk about it a little bit more, Chris Carson is also a guy who's going to benefit from a slightly increased volume, just because Rashad Penny is out for this game. So he is also another good sort of low-owned quarterback that if you're sort of just trying to jam in touches, he's a guy who should see somewhere around 25 touches this game. So I like him. And then finally, Jordan Howard, 3,900. He's underpriced as well. Pairs well with the Bears defense at home. Guy's gotten 16 to 19 carries the past 2 weeks. And the Packers defense is missing Mike Daniels. So he could be in play as well if you need the salary. But like I said, the Addy's Action running back is Dalvin Cook. All right, so let's move on to wide receiver. Let me go ahead and pull up some of these ownership projections for y'all. Wide receiver was tough because I really like a lot of these high-priced guys, but obviously I can't just talk about them. I think Julian Edelman is probably my favorite wide receiver play. The top four chalky wide receivers are Julian Edelman, Juju Smith-Schuster, Amari Cooper, Antonio Brown. Then after that, I see Adam Thielen, Tyler Boyd, Zay Jones. Interesting seeing Zay Jones there. But yeah, so anyways, what I was saying was wide receiver is pretty tough because like I said, the first 5 names I listed are all 7.2K and above. So a lot of the chalky guys are pretty expensive. There's not a lot of good value in the wide receiver position this week. But after looking at it for a good bit, the guy that I'm sort of settled on as my GPP play is going to be Kenny Golladay at 5.4K. Initially, when you kind of like scroll through the slate, Kenny Golladay does strike you as a guy that's absurdly underpriced at 5.4K. And then you look at his game logs, and I guess it's a little bit more deserving. Past 3 weeks, he's been held to a combined like 24 fantasy points. So not great, averaging 8 fantasy points a week. But the big news is that his targets are there. So since Marvin Jones and Golden Tate have been rid from this offense, or I should say injured and traded, Kenny Golladay has gotten target counts of 13, 15, 8, 8, and then locked down by Patrick Peterson, so 4. I read this cool stat. Patrick Peterson covered Kenny Golladay on 60% of Kenny Galladay's routes last week, and Kenny Golladay had 0 targets on those 60%. So 60% of his routes he got 0 targets on simply because Patrick Patterson was on him. So, or I should say Patrick Peterson, not Patrick Patterson. Patrick Peterson was on him. And so so Matt Stafford just didn't even look his way, and rightfully so, because that's how shut down Patrick Peterson is. But now he's going to be he gets another tough matchup versus Tre'Davious White, but Tre'Davious White has not been that good the past 2 weeks. You'll probably recognize him from giving up a pretty good game to Robbie Anderson last week. I believe Robbie Anderson had let me see. I think it was 4 catches, 60-something yards, and a couple of touchdowns. So not a good game for Tre'Davious White, and it was the same last week or the week prior for him as well. If he sees one-on-one coverage with Tre'Davious White, I think Kenny Golladay is talented, big, strong receiver enough to sort of take advantage of that one-on-one matchup. And it's sort of the Tom Brady thing. It's just a price thing for me. I mean, this guy was priced. This was his price 2 weeks ago, $6,700. Now he's just listed at $5,400 in sort of equally as good matchup. I think this is a fine spot to go after that. All right, let me back out of here. Okay, cool. One more note on wide receiver. Because I saw Zay Jones coming in as the 7th highest on wide receiver, I suppose there is an avenue for a Bills wide receiver to be playable here. The thing with the Bills is I liked them more before I read that LaShawn McCoy and Chris Ivory are expected to come back. And even if they weren't, I don't think Zay Jones would be the guy I go after. He seems most likely to be locked up by Darius Slay in one-on-one coverage. And I'm not too interested in targeting Darius Slay. I'd much rather go with someone like Robert Foster, who's actually more expensive on DraftKings, but he's been running more fantasy-friendly routes when you factor in Josh Allen's lack of throwing pedigree. Robin Foster, who's been running like more, shorter, intermediate, lower A dot routes. That's more fantasy friendly. And then Isaiah McKenzie at 3.9K. He got 7 targets last week, and he's playing all the slot wide receiver snaps for these guys. It's a fantasy friendly position for them. And Isaiah McKenzie's a guy who could definitely break a slate with his speed. He's a small guy. He was you might recognize him from returning punts for Denver for a couple of years. But now he's getting a shot at a wide receiver position in the NFL, and he's doing pretty well with it. So I like him. If you want a Bills wide receiver, I think I prefer McKenzie the most points per dollar wise. But again, none of those wide receivers are really in that great of spots with the run game getting healthy. Another wide receiver I want to talk about in the lower range is Larry Fitzgerald at 4.7K. Got 9 targets last week, and he's getting the Atlanta slot cornerback matchup, which is something that we've really targeted the past season. So I do like Larry Fitzgerald here. He's a guy who's probably going to see double-digit targets. And even though Detroit did double him in the slot, he still received 9 targets. So I think if Atlanta goes with that strategy as well, which they may, he's a guy who still could receive 10 targets. So getting that kind of target share at that price is fairly safe. But like I said, Julian Edelman is my top wide receiver as well, but he is also the chalkiest. So my Addy's action wide receiver is Kenny Golladay. Anyways, now let's move on to tight end. I really like Gronk here at tight end, but he's coming in as a second chalkiest wide receiver. Just so I can second chalkiest tight end, I should say, just so I can read you guys these ownerships. We have Ebron first, then Gronk, Vernon Davis with the Jordan Reed injury coming in as a third highest owned, then Kittle, Jared Cook, Anthony Ferguson with the Jonnu Smith, and obviously Delaney Walker injury coming in as the 6th highest owned tight end. I really like that play. He's not coming in as that high owned, 7.5%, but 6th highest owned. And then Trey Burton after that. And none of those are my guys, but just to talk on a few of them, I do think Vernon Davis is in play with Jordan Reed out, but I'm not as high on him as I think the ownership dictates. I'd rather actually have Ferguson and the other guy that I'm going to talk about right now, and that is Vance McDonald. So the more I really look into this Pittsburgh-New England matchup, because if you look at all of these games, let me just show you why I'm so focused on that game. These are the Saturday games, and these are the Sunday games. Look at these totals: 39.5, 46, 44, 46, 47.5, 44.5, 36, 43, 45.5, 44.5, and then a monster 53.5. So almost 10. It's 7.5 points more than the next highest over/under. So you definitely want to be overweight on this game, because it is gonna dictate this slate. And so I've really been paying a lot of attention to it. I've been reading a lot of the beat writers from both sides to see what they say, especially about what Bill Belichick is going to do defensively, because that really dictates where you want to go with these Pittsburgh offensive pieces. And everything I read is telling me that we're going to see Bill Belichick sell out to stop these 2 wide receivers. A lot of the DFS community, because the thing with Bill Belichick for years is that he always takes away the opponent's the thing the opponent does the best. So the DFS community for this entire week has been trying to figure out who he's going to take away between Antonio Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster. And I think the answer is that he's going to try everything to take them both away. I think everything I'm reading is that they're going to probably give Antonio Brown a double, maybe even safety help over the top, and they're probably going to leave Juju one-on-one with Stephon Gilmore, who's their shutdown cornerback. He hasn't been as good the past few weeks, but he's still a pretty shutdown cornerback. So if I had to pick one of them, I think I would pick Juju, even though we see AB have some more home splits and Juju have better road splits. I think I'd pick Juju for the price, but that's why we saw him coming in so highly owned. But I know I'm going on tangents, but because of all of that, I kept reading these reporters, and it just seems like they're going to do everything they can to shut down these 2 wide receivers, which will allow everyone else to eat, and especially everyone sort of underneath to eat, which is the tight end and a pass-catching running back, which is why I really like Jalen Samuels. And a slot wide receiver, so like a Ryan Switzer type. He could do really well in this game. But another reason why I just like Vance McDonald, we've already talked about the pace of this game. We talked about we already know this is a great matchup versus a New England team that struggled to guard the tight end this entire year. Vance McDonald's a fantasy-friendly player. We've seen him put up monster scores in the past. We've seen him be a part of this offense. He receives target counts that are fairly safe for this price point at 3.9K. His past 4 target counts, 6, 5, 7, and 4. If he sort of hits the median there and reaches 6 this game, I think he can put up a really, really big game. So yeah, very high on Vance McDonald. I think he benefits from sort of being the guy that Bill Belichick does not scheme for in this defense. Speaking of defenses, let's talk about him real quick. Nothing crazy here. You're really just looking for pressure. You're looking for takeaways. The Giants defense the past 2 weeks has been more than serviceable. They're playing with a sort of renewed spirit now that they're back in the playoffs. They're certainly in play here. The Colts defense, a lot of people are on this Dallas offense. You saw Amari Cooper and Zeke as well as Dak all pop up as top 5 owned at their respective positions. If you want to just hedge on all of that, you can go with the Colts defense. Dak Prescott struggles heavily with the zone coverage, and the Colts run the highest zone coverage in the league. I think it's almost 75%. So it could be a tough matchup for them on the road in Indy. So I do like the Indy defense at 2.6K. You can punt straight up with the 49ers at 2K. But I'll leave defense up to y'all because, as I say every week, not in the business of projecting defenses. It's such a high variance position that you just kind of give it your best shot. But yeah, with that being said, that's all for me. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter again if you want to keep up to date with everything I'm doing. If you want to ask me your 1v1s, 2v2s, or anything, please reach out to me here. I'll be more than willing to respond to you guys. And yeah, go ahead and, again, that giveaway is still going on. So like, comment, and subscribe, and you will be entered into that giveaway for a free NFL, NHL, or NBA season pass. And with that all being said, best of luck this week, guys. I hope you win some money, and I will see you next week. Peace.